Well, I did not think I was going to get behind the mic again this week after what was an extremely heated debate the other day about RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley. My name is Bryce Gelman, and today we're going to talk about it because how could you not? The Knicks trade for OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, and Malachi Flynn, and they give up RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, and their own second-round pick this year. Initial reaction was extremely negative. I think that a lot of fans like myself are biased towards Quickley. Well, you look back to what I said 2 days ago about why Quickley wasn't playing a lot, why he deserved more minutes, and how Tom Thibodeau was completely mismanaging him. We don't have to deal with that anymore. Like, that's out the window. And now Immanuel Quickley gets to go to a situation where he's not going to be limited in his minutes. He might start, and he's going to thrive. But that's basically all I had. Right when I opened my phone, I saw that. It hurt. And it also hurt because the Knicks drafted RJ Barrett, the number 3 pick, the surefire number 3 pick behind Zion and Ja. And a lot of Knicks fans have held out hope, and this being the 5th year of his career, that he would turn into the player that everyone expected him to be out of Duke. And he never amounted to anything in the league besides an extremely inconsistent player who, if a shot wasn't falling on any given night, was not going to play defense, was not going to bust his ass. And Immanuel Quickley did not subscribe to those same beliefs. And Immanuel Quickley is a guy who the Knicks are going to regret getting rid of, but it had to happen. And this is what I have finally realized, that he wasn't re-signing in New York. So this is basically a rental. This is rental value. This is like in any league, there's 1 year left on a contract, you trade a guy away with the other team not necessarily expecting to re-sign him. It's like the Yankees trading for Juan Soto is what I'm getting at. But Immanuel Quickley is not Juan Soto. Either way, the Raptors got a great return here. But the Knicks, on the other end, they made the most out of this deal. They got their surefire starting small forward who wasn't supposed to be a shooting guard, who could play the small forward, he can guard up and down the court, he can guard guards, he can guard big wings. If the Knicks play Kevin Durant or LeBron James, OG Anunoby is going to be matching up next to them, across from them. But they also get their backup power forward in Precious Achiuwa. You can say what you want about him. The Knicks didn't have a backup power forward. And as good as their second unit has been this year, as good as their depth has been, Josh Hart playing the 4 is not going to win you any games. And was constantly hampering the Knicks' ability to come back in all these games with their second unit, which was, in my opinion, the best part about the team. So this is, again, listen, at first I don't think any Knicks fan was excited to hear that Quickley and Barrett were leaving. These two guys have been the centerpiece or, two centerpiece guys of the team for 4 or 5 years. Quickley being 4, RJ being 5. And now there's only 2 guys remaining on that 2020-2021 playoff team, which is just absurd to think. Because you may think that the Knicks are the same team, but they are not. They are not. Tom Thibodeau is still the coach. They still have Julius Randle, and they still have Mitchell Robinson. But what the Knicks gained in OG Anunoby is an incredible defender, as I said, who could match up with any of your opposing team's best players, who isn't going to be inefficient. And I know he mentioned, and this has been reported in the past few hours, that he wanted to go to a team where he was going to have a bigger role. You're not going to have a bigger role at the Knicks. I'm just saying that. Score 12 to 15 points per game, play the best possible defense on the team, and you will be beloved by the fans. Accept your role like Mitchell Robinson has. Take a page out of him, and don't expect to be the number 2 on this team because 1A and 1B are Brunson and Randall. So, all things considered, the Knicks had to make this move. They could not keep holding on to the belief that RJ Barrett was going to be this incredible player, that it was going to live up to the hype out of Duke, and was going to be an effective and efficient and a consistent player. He was never going to be that guy. And again, he's only 23 years old. He may turn into be a more consistent player, but you knew what you were getting. And his flashes of greatness, I don't think were enough to warrant how inconsistent he was now, because Knicks are in a win now mode. They may not be competing for a championship, but they are trying to win now. And this passion project, you could say, like this project that RJ Barrett was just not helping the team. So you get rid of RJ, where he needed to go, and again, you get rid of Quickley, but he was not re-signing this year. Teams were going to offer him 4 years, $100 plus million. The Knicks were not willing to offer that. As Gelt said on the show the other day, that the Knicks offered him 4 years, $80 million. They thought that was a completely fair offer and quickly turned him down. Good for him betting on himself. And he's going to have a great opportunity to bet on himself in Toronto, which he wasn't having with the Knicks. And I'm sure, listen, he loved New York. He really embraced the fans. He embraced the atmosphere of the Garden, the aura of the Garden. He played his heart out. He was a great New York basketball player. But he will have a great opportunity now to show his value. This is the best possible situation for Immanuel Quickley. And you got to feel bad for him, having to move his family out to Canada. I know RJ's happy to move back home. I doubt Quickley is, but it may be a temporary thing. Either way, this is the best possible thing for him going forward. And for fans like myself, and for fans like probably everyone watching this who really like Quickley, this is good for the person that is Immanuel Quickley. All right, now on to one negative belief that I have regarding this trade, and that has to do with the limited opportunities that you now have in trading for a superstar. The Knicks will be able to trade for Donovan Mitchell this year. With the Cavs injuries that they have right now, they know Donovan Mitchell does not want to stay and re-sign in Cleveland. They know he wants to be in New York. The Knicks will be able to trade for, again, a guy that has less value because you don't expect him to be on your team for a long period of time, right? He's not going to be. So that's out of the question. I'm talking about a guy like Joel Embiid. Understood, he's not asking out now. The Sixers are a very solid team. But if the Sixers don't make a move to put them in that title contention, if they screw up said move, if they do make it, you can expect Joel Embiid to ask out. And the Knicks were one of those teams favorited. They were least odds or whatever when Embiid sounded like he was disgruntled, and the Knicks had some of the best odds to be able to trade for him because of the value that their young guys had on the team that they were inevitably going to have to put in any one of those trades. And you lose those two guys who have been the centerpiece of every single mock trade released for superstars the Knicks would possibly acquire in the last 3 to 4 years. You still have your draft picks. You still have potentially 3 first-round draft picks this year. It's very unlikely. They're probably only going to have their own and the Mavericks pick, considering the fact that they do have a protected Detroit pick. Can you imagine if that wasn't protected? You get the first pick. They also have Washington's protected pick from 1 to 12. Detroit is 1 to 18. They're not going to get either one of those picks, likely. But that is one of these negative aspects of this deal, that you lose 2 guys that you were going to be able to parlay into a better superstar player. So that's out of the question now. And you may think that, personally, I did not think that RJ Barrett had that much value. But Geltz, on my show last week, said that he loved Barrett, that Barrett had all this value. And now you're losing that. And you give up Barrett for a guy who just fits the team better, who will play consistently, will play extremely solid defense on a nightly basis, a second team all defensive team last year, OG Anunoby, that was. This is a good trade for the Knicks. It is. All the negatives aside, I think that the Knicks aren't done, as evidenced by all the reports that have come out in the past couple hours, specifically by Ian Begley, that the Knicks will reasonably make another move, if not this year, this upcoming offseason. It doesn't make the Knicks a title contender. I don't think anyone's doubting that. But it does set them up to be in a better position to trade for a star, a superstar, a Donovan Mitchell. Not a Joel Embiid, not a Luka Doncic, but a guy who will come in, be your number one scoring option, but he will not be this generational type talent. Yes, he'll be a top 20, 25 player in the league, but he's not going to be a top 10 guy in the league. You're not going to get an Embiid. You're not going to get a Doncic with the assets that you have right now, unless you are sacrificing every single one of your draft picks or all of your depth, which has been the Knicks' calling card for the last few years, a calling card that you just gave up by trading Immanuel Quickley. So it remains to be seen how they're going to fill the void in the second unit from Quickley. That's another thing I'm a little concerned about, is that depth. But the Knicks have gotten much better defensively. The 19th best team right now in terms of defensive rating in the league. They were top 5 about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, and they're absolutely not that anymore. So this is a shock. And I expected it, at least the trade for Anunoby coming soon. I thought there would be more draft capital attached to that. Didn't expect Quickley and Barrett both being a part of that deal, but it happened. And this is the new reality that us Knicks fans have to accept and cherish going forward, because this was the right move for the franchise. And again, it remains to be seen how this all works out. Anunoby's got a player option at the end of the year. He's a free agent the next summer after that. Will he resign with the Knicks? It's looking likely. He's a CAA guy. You know, Leon Rose was a CAA guy. I hope so. I hope so, because you don't make this type of move not expecting to re-sign a guy like that. They got rid of RJ's awful contract. Good. But you gave up Quickley. So now if you don't re-sign Anunoby, you look back at trading Quickley and you're like, why didn't we just keep him and then re-sign him? Or maybe offer slightly more. Maybe offer $23 million a year and not just $20 million a year over 4 years. Or how about $25 million over 5 years? Sort of like what RJ Barrett got. The Knicks don't have to deal with anymore. Again, all this remains to be seen. Hypotheticals we're discussing right now, but that's just what we all need right now as Knicks fans. We need to take a breather, relax, and do what I did. Sit back and realize the potential of what OG Anunoby in the starting lineup brings you. You do not have to worry about defense. Specifically, if you want to trade for Donovan Mitchell now, that is a better option because you have the stability in defense in the backcourt. That you'll have Anunoby, that you'll have Randall, that you'll have Mitchell Robinson. You don't have to worry about RJ Barrett not playing defense every other game. So definitely more positives than negatives. And don't get me wrong, as I've explained, there are a bunch of negatives. But this was the right move. It was the correct move, and we'll see how the Knicks build on it going forward. And that's all we can really say about this. I'm a little concerned about Precious Achiuwa being the backup power forward, but again, it's better than having Josh Hart play the 4 at whatever he's 6'5". But good trade, and I think if you're a Knicks fan, you should remove your bias and remove your fandom of Immanuel Quickley and realize that he was never re-signing at the end of the year. And I've done that, and I think that's made me accept this trade a little bit more and have definitely came back from that darkness that I was in. I think a lot of Knicks fans were in when they read that original tweet from Woj. Some Knicks fans may still be in right now. And good for both of them. Good for RJ. Good for Quickley. I know Quickley may not think it right now, but again, he's going to have the opportunity to shine. He's going to get the minutes that all of us Knicks fans thought he deserved. And RJ gets to go home. He's got a long contract. It's looking likely that he's going to probably finish that contract out with Toronto. I don't see them somehow offloading that deal. I think RJ becomes a better player. I think maybe being in his hometown hopefully gives him this boost, and hopefully he's the player that all of us Knicks fans wanted him to be, but he never could have been in New York, behind the shadows of in the shadows of both Brunson and Randall. So, all right, that's all I got for this little quick mini episode. Felt compelled to do it, obviously, after this crazy news. The most surprised I've been about any Knicks news since the KP trade, which shouldn't have been that surprising after he asked out a couple days before. But that's just my opinion on that. I think a lot of other fans my age would tend to agree with that I was not expecting this. You probably weren't expecting this. And now as Knicks fans, we deal with it. And we hope that this team improves, and we hope that Quickley and Barrett become better players on Toronto. So if you like this, give me a like, give me a subscription if you can. That would be much appreciated. And let's go Knicks. Let's hope these guys turn out to be the guys that we traded for and then some. That's all I got. Have a good day, everyone. Happy New Year.